Your San Antonio Spurs take on the Los Angeles Lakers tonight in the knockout round of the NBA Cup tournament. Let's talk about that.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. As always, I'm glad to have y'all back, and thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. We definitely appreciate it. Part of the number one sports podcasting network in the nation, the Locked On Podcast Network. We appreciate that. Hey, don't forget to subscribe. You know what to do. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app. Go do that ASAP. What are we talking about today? Yeah, it's Cup game. Yep, your Spurs, the Lakers, tonight in Los Angeles. It's the knockout game. Basically, Spurs win or go home. Simple as that. They win, they advance to the finals of the NBA Cup in finals. Just basically, they're moving on. All right, it's all it is. You win, you move on. You don't. Well, season continues. But we're gonna be talking about that. Just the tournament overall. What do we like about it? What don't we like about it? Then get into the game. It's closest this young Spurs team has gotten to some sort of significant game. And a lot of money on the line, too. Yeah, I'll tell you about what the players think about that. And then your comments, Locked On Spurs fan comments. Y'all are really just all about the Giannis rumors and whatnot in your Spurs. So we got a couple of those to knock out today. Hey, before we begin and continue, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your purchase to dive into the NBA Cup tournament and more. That's going to bring in our guest. He is my good friend, known him for quite some time now. Hector Ledesma with Clutch Points, does some work with Spurs Sports and Entertainment. He does it all, and I'm proud to call him my friend. Hector, I've known you for how long now? My goodness.
It's been a while, Jeff. It's been a minute. 2014-ish?
Good Lord.
Right?
Wow. You haven't aged a day, man.
You're too kind, bro. You're too kind. No, in all seriousness, though, you haven't aged, dude. You look.
Come on, man. I wear a hat for a reason to cover up all the gray hair that's underneath here. You see me without a cap at the games, but no, Hector. As always, I thank you for stopping by, taking time out of your schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. Make sure to follow him on X at Hector Ledesma TV. He's going to tell you all about what he does, where you can read his stuff regarding the Silverback and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Spurs. Hey, Hector, let's go and dive into it. And before we get into the Spurs-Laker game, the tournament, the NBA Cup tournament started yesterday. The Eastern Conference teams got things going. Today, the West, it's their turn. Spurs-Lakers, Thunder Suns. But overall, it feels like what started out as kind of like a joke, like a butt of a joke, like, ooh, whoop-de-doo, an NBA Cup tournament, now is kind of gotten some legs to it. What have you been thinking about this NBA Cup in-season tournament?
I'll be honest, Jeff, I thought it was dumb when it first started. I was like, what's the point, right? Like, you're going to hype up December games in the NBA by just like adding a tournament? Like, what's the difference? And then the running joke with me was, if you're going to do it all the way. Do it like European soccer or soccer anywhere, where if you, it's worth something, you don't do well in a certain season, you get demoted to the G League or something. You win the cup, you automatically get a playoff berth no matter what, or something along those lines. Like make it work. So I thought the whole thing was dumb. I will fully admit, now that the Spurs are in it, and it's the Lakers and it's Luka and it's LeBron and the Lakers are sitting near the top of the West as well. Now, like I'm looking forward to it more so than if it was just another Spurs-Lakers game. So count me in as the fools who fell for it now. But I don't want to say I'm all in, but I'm curious. Like, in other words, the game is not going to be one of those, hey, I got family stuff going on, and if I can make it back in time, because it's a road game. I know you and I go to all the home games, but the road games, a lot of times with me, it's a priority. But if there's other stuff going on, well, then I it or DDR whatever a little bit later, catch the replay, whatever. For this, I'm gonna make a concerted effort to be in front of the TV when the game starts. Prioritize it the whole nine. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. And little by little, it's getting a little more embraced. And look, this should not be a surprise for NBA fans. If you've been watching on the radar for years now, leading up to when the Cup was introduced about 3 years ago, it was on the horizon. Usually, things that will hit the NBA, you can see them happening in the G League. G League started doing in-season tournaments. They actually start one to begin their season. The then NBA 2K League had several in-season tournaments leading up to the big game, which was their in-season championship, and then the regular season continues. So the NBA has been tinkering with these ideas with their properties for a while now. Then it's come into the NBA, and I mean, you talk about a joke. Remember when the Lakers won the title? Well, the Cup title, and they hung a banner up, and then everybody made fun of them. And it's definitely evolved, and the viewership is up. The NBA announced that year after year, it's gaining more eyes on television. Prime Video's now a part of it. They're hyping it up. If you watch their segments on their shows. So little by little, it's getting there. I think this is what Adam Silver wanted. Just add some more excitement in the regular season. Although I think maybe they should have positioned it maybe in the dog days of the NBA season, because there's going to come to that point after Christmas, New Year, where it's just a slog of a season. Your thoughts?
That's a good point, because they already have some interest generally right now anyway, because like Christmas Day is the NBA, right?
Yeah.
But I will say though, Jeff, like once you get I think for San Antonio it's different because it's all about the Spurs here, right? But in other markets, I think there's opening night, and then there's a few big games through October into early December. But really, what's the old saying? Like, you don't start paying attention to the NBA until Christmas Day.
Exactly.
Or until after the Super Bowl. So to your point, maybe you could have it like mid-January. But I think I think now's a good time to do it. If I'm kind of just looking at it, just in general, just top of mind. It's a little bit of a warm up to the Christmas Day action, and then once the turn of the new year comes, before you know it, it's All-Star game, and then after All-Star game, it's the trade. Well, right around the All-Star game, it's the trade deadline, and then you're off to the home stretch. You're off and running. It's all about getting it and positioning for the playoffs. I mean, I guess when you think about it, you have a good point in that, we're not quite at the dog days of the NBA yet, but I think there is something to be said for having it now.
Yeah, exactly. And look, outside of the competition on the court, ask the Spurs, you've been in the locker room with me. They're excited for it. They are excited for it. And let's be honest, the money is good. The incentive for them to play, I found out just that they qualified, just to qualify, $500K in their pockets. Just to qualify. All right. Now they're in it and they win another $500K. And I think it tiers up, a little bit, where if you're like a two-way player, you get maybe half of that. And then it's some sort of math that the NBA uses for payout. So, and the players are not shy about it. They're not shy about it. Did you watch that video that the Spurs released when the team officially qualified? And you hear them all celebrating in the locker room. And the last word you hear was a player. You couldn't tell because the camera was moving around, but somebody in that Spurs locker room yelled, "Now show me my money." So that's a big incentive. Even Steph Castle, after the road win versus the Pelicans, he kind of laughed a bit because that's a good motivation factor. So you get the players involved, you add high stakes monetary prizes that they're going to win, some bragging rights, and it's getting better and better and better. You definitely love those NBA Cup courts, don't you, Hector? You love them. Spurs are the best, I think, but some of these are just god awful, Hector. My goodness.
What was the line heard? Someone said the Denver court looks like Pepto-Bismol. I was like, and I can't unsee it now. I think it was where they were talking about. I don't know. I get them all mixed up, but those courts are
the ones that gives me headaches is the Timberwolves court. I think somebody just dumped a highlighter eraser with like liquid everywhere, just everywhere. Yeah, that's what it looks like. There's neon yellow. But look, the NBA is doing a bang up job. Relatively quick to getting fans to be behind it. It's gotten less of a butt of a joke now, and now it's exciting. The silver and black are in it. They're taking on the Lakers, and that's what we're going to do coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. We're going to preview tonight's knockout game, Spurs-Lakers, right here on Locked On Spurs, joined by my friend Hector Ledesma. There's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. That's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes the switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep your same coverage for a lower price. Setup only takes a few minutes. You can bring your own phone and number without any issues. The service is fast, super reliable, even on the go. It feels good knowing that you're not overpaying and you're just staying connected. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless saving futures by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for a 12-month plan required, $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees are initial plan term only. Less than 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Available speed and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
This is Homer Simpson, and you are listening to my favorite Spurs podcast, Locked On Spurs. Donuts.
One guy I'll never knock out of this episode of Locked On Spurs is that guy you're seeing right here, Hector Ledesma. He's with Clutch Points. He also works with Spurs Sports and Entertainment. More on that later. Yeah, speaking of knockout, no, we're not talking Mike Tyson's punch-out knockout. We're talking about the knockout round game tonight. Spurs, Lakers. Very simple, Spurs fans. Spurs win, they advance in the NBA Cup tournament. If they're not, well, regular season continues. So that's as simple as it gets. But Spurs, Lakers, you could not dream of a better matchup. The history between these two teams dating back to the freaking old hemisphere days with Artis Gilmore and Kareem and Ice to the Duncan era. Seriously, historically, these two teams have always been linked. It's always battling for Western Conference supremacy, and here we go again. Overall, though, we look at the regular season. You brought up something to us, to me during the break, is that the last time these two teams played, the Spurs could have won that even with Wemby on the court. And they let it slip through their hands, Hector, didn't they?
Yeah, and it's interesting because what we're going to see, Jeff, when they meet is going to be almost two different teams because De'Aaron Fox didn't play in that game for the Spurs.
Right. Good point.
Dylan Harper had gotten hurt the previous game, which also ended up being their first loss to Phoenix. He's now back. Whit did play in that game. Castle was still healthy. For the Lakers, not only was LeBron still working his way back, Austin Reeves didn't play in that.
That's right. Good point.
And so a Laker team led by Luka Doncic beat a Spurs team that didn't have Dylan Harper or De'Aaron Fox, but did have Wemby and Castle. So kind of like the things have kind of reversed, even though Steph, made his way back in that Pelicans win. So it'd be fun to see him again, and really almost for the first time, right, Jeff? Because Luka's Luka, and he's the constant. He's going to be there with the Lakers.
Yeah, he is.
Castle is there, going to be in both these meetings on the Spurs end. So that's going to be fun to see. But really, when you add LeBron, Reeves, Fox, and Castle, it's like we're seeing them play for the first time. And while it's a chance for the Spurs to avenge what was only their second loss of the season after they started 5-0 and then lost to Phoenix, at the same time, it is kind of a first look at the Lakers as constructed.
Yeah, and the Lakers sit at second spot in the Western Conference with a record of 17-6. The Spurs enter tonight's game at 16-7, sixth spot in the NBA Western Conference. What I like about this game is that finally the young Spurs get some taste of what it is to play in a game that is a little bit more meaningful than a regular season game. Not to say regular season game are meaningless, but here's one. There's a little more high stakes, a little pride on the line, some cash on the line. You're going against the Lakers. Austin Reeves has been playing great this season. Luka, as you mentioned, is being Luka, just wrecking everybody. I like the fact that these young guys like your Keldon, Devin, Sohan, who knows if Wemby will play as of this recording, he's still out. But Castle, will get to play that. And then we get these guys in that kind of mix on the road. I think this is good for them, win or lose. Hector, your thoughts?
No doubt.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like that win at Denver to get them here, it's not going to go down as one of those, whoa, there was a lot on the line wins, right? Like we're not going to remember it that way. But in the moment, knowing that the winner of that game would win the group and essentially move on to win that game without Wemby, without Steph, on the road against a Denver team that did have the Joker and did have Jamal Murray. Like that was a good, that told you something about this team, right? Like now, was it going to tell you something big picture and in the end, stamp it? It's in concrete. This team is a block. No, but it tells you something about where these guys are and how they handle pressure. We saw it in the Pelicans game, even though the Pelicans are really struggling and the worst team in the West and not all of basketball. You still saw Fox and Harper come up with big shots down the stretch. Like they're finding ways to win games this season, which is something we haven't seen a Spurs team do in a number of years. And so I think put them in this stage now in LA, LeBron on the other side, Luka on the other side. It is one of those games that kind of partly to what we're talking about before the break about how it's hype and it's cool and it's cup. Right. At the same time, there is going to be legitimate competition in the minute-to-minute, quarter-to-quarter of that game, a chance to measure yourself a little bit. I don't think that should be discounted.
No, not at all. And for a rookie like you guys see in your screen right now, Dylan Harper, he's been playing great of late. Again, clutch performances down the stretch of the game just recently against the Pelicans, even in the last home game before the Spurs started their road trip, just clutch games. Can he do that under the bright lights in Los Angeles? And overall, Hector, I look at this game. Another aspect that I like about it is that I like the fact that they're on the road too. I like that fact. Let's see let's see what they're made of. Let's see what it is to go into hostile enemy territory and then they can put on their best A game. And I think they could. I think a lot of the talking heads right now have the Lakers advancing. I actually got the Spurs beating the Lakers tonight in Los Angeles. I think they will play very well. The only thing that worries me though, Hector, is what Spurs team am I going to get? Am I going to get the Spurs team that walked into Denver, beat Joker in their gym, or am I going to get the one that let a 25 freaking point lead slip away versus the Pelicans? Or am I going to get the team where Ime Udoka said, yeah, that team over there, San Antonio, they punked us? Or am I going to get a team that wilted as we saw in Minnesota? But I think the Spurs have enough juice. They have enough power. I like the rhythm they're on right now. My X factor, all this has to be if Wemby plays. If Wemby plays, that really, for me, pushes it to the Spurs' favor. If he doesn't, I still think they can do it. But a player on the Lakers side that's been playing pretty well this season, DeAndre Ayton. If you're noticing that, he's been putting up some good numbers this year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting. He's one of those guys that his career trajectory is okay, top pick, stud, and then Phoenix reaches the final, right? And he's an integral part of what they're doing. And then you see the slide, and you start thinking, not a bust by any means.
No.
But as a top pick, you sit there and you go, well, it's all about perspective, right? And now he's kind of relegated to, he is pretty darn good, and maybe the standard shouldn't be number one overall type success, because while those guys a lot of times prove to be franchise changers, right? The Duncans, the Shaqs, the Magics, right? Number one overall picks, the Akeems, that's not the fair standard. He just doesn't happen to belong in that club. For me, it's very similar to Gordon when he was in Denver, or when he was winning that championship, those long runs with Denver. You scale back the expectation a little bit, or what you thought was going to be the expectation going in, and at the end of the day, you just boil it down and go, he's pretty darn good, and that's what he's been for them. Like he's a huge reason why, without LeBron and then without Reeves for that stretch with the Spurs, they were able to sustain. He was a huge help for Luka.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lakers, if we get this right here, at home this season, they are 7-3. The Spurs away from San Antonio, they are 7-5. So pretty good records there. The Lakers in their last 10 games are 7-3, while your Spurs are also 7-3. So it should be a tight contest tonight as well. You know what? Let's continue talking about the Cup game. We'll get into your comments in a few minutes. Let's continue previewing tonight's knockout game at the NBA Cup tournament, Spurs-Lakers. Let's talk about Game Time World Cup draw. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets usually is going to be the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets in the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. Pull up the app and the layout. It'll make it so simple to scroll through matchups and compare seat views. Pick a game, tap a section. You have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. The seat view feature is a game changer. You'll literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. Prices include fees up front, which you're going to love. No last second surprises at checkout. And you get alerts for teams and matches that make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets with every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. And we're back right here, Locked On Spurs, joined by Hector Ledesma. Make sure to follow him on X at Hector Ledesma TV. He's with Clutch Points and helps out Spurs on Sports. Spurs, Sports, and Entertainment. That's a mouthful right there. He'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So we're talking about the Cup game, Spurs-Lakers tonight. Win or go home for your San Antonio Spurs. And look, they want to advance. Yes, the money's good. They want to advance. Before they hit the road trip, I had a little chat with Lindy Waters, and we're talking about the Cup. And he's like, yeah, he said, you know, it's funny. He also noted it too. He's like, yeah, it's come a long way in a short time. It was being more accepted. And he also echoed what we're telling you, saying like there's something Adam Silver wanted. But one interesting thing he did tell me, he goes, we don't want to come home because we want to go to Las Vegas. I think that's how it works, right? If they win, they just, I guess the road trip continues. They go to Vegas. Yeah. But if they lose, they come home for Washington. Is that how it works? I think that's how it plays out.
Well, what happens is if they win, they'll play Saturday in Las Vegas in the semifinals. If they win that game, they'll play Tuesday for the NBA Cup.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Interestingly, Jeff, in terms of the travel schedule, the game tonight, Tuesday. What's interesting is, well, I guess they would fly straight to Vegas, right? Like I was thinking, if they come home for like a day or two and then go back to LA like on Friday. But I'm not LA, Vegas. Go from Vegas. From Vegas. You know, they're already that general part of the country. Like they're going to stop at Vegas on the way. If they were to fly back, they would pass Vegas. So I guess once I think about it out loud, they would just go straight to Vegas. But that's the game schedule: is Saturday Vegas, Tuesday Vegas. If they lose, they would play the loser between Phoenix and City.
There you go.
So Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Loser between those two, which is the other NBA Cup semifinal from the Western Conference. And that game would be in San Antonio, I believe either Sunday or Monday.
Got it. Yeah, you know, you brought up something right now. If the Spurs do advance, yay, Spurs, here's your prize. A team that has been clobbering you this season, Phoenix, or you get the Thunder, who've only lost one game as of this recording. How good looks.
This is the other cool part that the Cup eventually gives you.
Yeah.
Spurs Thunder in an NBA Cup semifinal.
Wow, what a first matchup. What a first matchup of the season.
I was just going to say, when they haven't played good yet, that would be, you know how I described the Laker game tonight as pretty much must see?
Yeah. That
would be must see. Like clear the schedule. Saturday, the Spurs are getting an unexpected game, relatively unexpected, right? Because we know what the bracket is now. But that would be a look what we got matchup on a Saturday night. Yeah. So again, kudos to Adam Silver and the NBA for the way this has played out. It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And if for some reason the Suns do beat the Thunder, and I think they got a good shot, I think I love the fact the Spurs get a third try at beating the Suns. Who
First time here, though. It'd be the first time they get them here.
Yeah.
Exactly. They lost to Phoenix have been in Arizona.
Yeah. So hopefully the Spurs can get a measure of revenge, But you hope the Spurs do win in advance. But the worst case scenario is, as Hector mentioned, you pay. I guess it was a consolation game. I guess that's what it is. Just for third place, and that's what it would be, first, second, third.
Which one? Once you're in Vegas?
No. Like if the Spurs lose.
Oh, if the Spurs lose to the Lakers.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So from what this is, and again, admittedly, because I always thought the cup was dumb, and because the last couple of years the Spurs haven't been in the cup, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention. Honestly, I haven't watched an NBA Cup final, not one of them. Like, transparency. That's how dumb I thought it was until it.
Yeah.
What's the old saying that basketball coach from Hoosiers, Jeff, when he goes, "There's two kinds of crazy. There's the kind of crazy where a guy takes off his clothes and then barks at the moon. And then there's the kind of crazy where the guy does the exact same thing, but he does it in your backyard. The first one you don't care about. The second one you're kind of forced to deal with. So now with the Spurs being in it, I feel like not that we're forced to deal with it, but it's kind of cool. Like it's come to us, right? Yeah, exactly. So now there's like a vested interest in it for us. But before I went off on that tangent, going back, I was looking to see do the two semifinal losers, do they meet in a third place game like the day before the NBA Cup?
Yes, interesting. Yeah.
I just didn't know I just hadn't paid attention to the Vegas and the semifinals. But regarding the Spurs, if they lose tonight to the Lakers, that game against, let's say, Phoenix or Oklahoma, the loser of that game, that would basically be a game that just helps you round out the schedule so that you play 82.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Well, hey, before we get into some predictions and a big question I got to ask Hector in a bit, some things you got to keep an eye out for tonight's game. Keep an eye on that free throw line, especially the Lakers side, everybody. The Lakers, 12, get this, Hector, 12 straight games with more free throw attempts than their opponent. So
shocker.
They're attacking that. Yeah, they're attacking that rim.
A team that has Luka and LeBron gets a lot of foul shots. Shocker.
Yeah, shocker. Other things to note about the Lakers have been out rebounding their opponents in the last 3 games, 3 straight games, I should say. And they're not going for the ball. They're not gambling as much. They have not recorded more steals than their opposition in the last few games. And if we're just looking at little things for you stat heads here, keep an eye on that third quarter, everybody. This season, overall, home or away, the Lakers are undefeated if leading after the third period. They're 15-0. So they hang on to leads. I bring that up because we know about the Spurs and holding on to leads are the quite opposite. But should be a good game. One question before we get the prediction. If the Spurs win the tournament, do they hang a cup banner at the Frost?
No. And honestly, I'm not answering that as whether they should. I don't think they will. I don't see them being cut that way. Like, no. Like we acknowledge division title and Western Conference championship by putting a line on the overall big banner. The only things that get their own banners are NBA championships. I think that's the way that they're gonna see this, including the NBA Cup. Maybe like a little something. To be fair, was the Laker banner, was it as big as their championship banners, or it was different?
No, it was different. It was different. It looked smaller than the championship banner.
Has anybody else hung the banner for it?
I think the Bucks did it. I think the Bucks did. I'm pretty sure the Bucks did one.
I don't know, but I don't mean to talk myself out of it or be wishy-washy, but I think you acknowledge it somehow. But unlike division championships and Western Conference championships, where you could put the year on a big banner and just put the year as opposed to making it its own banner, I don't know how you do that for the NBA Cup. So that means you don't acknowledge it whatsoever. I don't know, man. Like now here I am talking.
I don't know either. Yeah.
Not again. I guess I have to think about it in terms of, does it get its own little, where do you mention it? Do you mention it?
I think maybe you just create a separate, kind of what they do now with the division banner. They don't have. By the way, everybody, Hector and I are old enough to remember that. You used to hang division banners.
Yes.
In the Hemisphere Arena and in the Alamo Dome.
Yep.
But now what they did, they kind of consolidated them. They made one banner and they just put the year of all the division titles. And I think the conference winner time they won is on there too. I'm not too sure.
I think there's a Western Conference banner too.
There is. Okay.
Your point, the Western Conference champion banner. I think.
I think you're right. Yeah. I think maybe they do that. Just start its own separate banner.
Gotta look up there more.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I get it. Or we go to the practice facility, look around. Okay, that's where they have one. Right there. All right. Who do you got tonight? I already let it out of the cat out of the bag for myself. I got Spurs beating the Lakers in Los Angeles. I know. Shocked the world, but I think the Spurs got enough juice to do that. What do you think?
I don't like thinking out loud, man. I think they fall short. I think in LA, Luka, LeBron, Reeves. I think the Spurs fight. They probably have a second half lead. Shocker, right?
Yeah, here we go again. Yeah,
it's close in the end. Maybe doesn't come down to the final shot. Maybe one of those games where it comes down to free throws and it's like a 5-point game in the last minute. 7-point game in the last minute and a half. Whatever. But I think they come up just short, and then see them here back in San Antonio in the next several days.
Yeah,
when they'll take on the loser of Phoenix, Oklahoma City. I'm wrong. I hope I am. But I think if you're holding my feet to the fire, which you got to do, I get it. If you're holding my feet to the fire, that's my gut, is they come up short.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the way they won that Pelicans games did not make me feel confident heading into today's Lakers game. I mean, I don't want to even go there. I know a win's a win, Hector, but how do you blow a 25-point lead to a 3-win team?
No, I hear you, man. I'm glad, going back to what I was talking about, hey, my daughter had a basketball game, so I caught the second half. I didn't see, all I saw was when the game was tight, like from the third quarter on, right? Yeah. I didn't see them get out to a 25-point lead. I didn't see them lead by 20 at the half. But I will say this, from what I saw and from what I've read in the highlights I see when the first half, from the comeback, New Orleans didn't miss and hit a lot of tough shots.
Did they?
Now here's the thing. At the end of the day, had the Spurs lost, it would have been a bad loss. No matter.
Yeah, it would have been a bad one.
It would have been an awful loss. But I think there are little intricacies that you can weave in that. And when you watch the game, you can come out of that thinking it should not have been that close. And you didn't blow a 25-point lead, although it happens all the time, right? Like, it's not good to blow a 25-point lead. But I think there were kind of silver linings, the Dylan Harper doing what he did down the stretch, De'Aaron continuing to be big. That tough step back that gave the Spurs the lead before the Harper bucket with 9.1 to go or whatever was left on the clock. So I think there's little bits and pieces you can take that will help them going forward. But yes, to your point, good thing it's a regular season game, because if that happens late in the year as you're gearing up for the playoffs, you probably go, that's kind of one of those red flags that when it's all said and done and you get knocked out in the first round or get demolished in the second round, you look back and you go, there were warning signs. We just maybe glossed over them. It would be one of those type things that had happened later in the year. I think now you're good.
Yeah, fine. Look, I know Mitch Johnson did not like the performance. It was weird. Because you look at that post game and you would think they're winning and you got the W, but Mitch was like, no, I'm disappointed in those guys. I'm disappointed. And you were just like going off on them. But you know what? Hector has Lakers advancing. I got Spurs advancing. Who do you got in tonight's Cup knockout game? Spurs, Lakers. Let Hector know on X at Hector Ledesma TV. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. All right, we got time for a couple of Lockdown Spurs fan comments here. Shocker, it's about the Giannis rumors, where he's going to be. Is he staying in Milwaukee? Is he going to the Knicks? Should the Spurs get involved? Spurs fans are all about it. And before I give you a couple comments here, Hector, a lot of Spurs fans are saying no. You don't make the deal. You leave the roster as is. Where do you stand on this Giannis deal? Potential Spurs could be involved. Where do you stand on all this?
It's nuanced for me, Jeff, because for me, And I actually did a piece on this for Clutch Points. To me,
Nice.
the question isn't directly, do you give up Dylan Harper? Do you give up Stephon Castle? Do you give up De'Aaron Fox?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Giannis's contract. Oh, no, Giannis's age. To me, those aren't starting points. For me, the starting point is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Because if you look at the Thunder right now, and you look at the Spurs right now, and you look at their futures, how young they are, the draft capital the Thunder still have. Yes, this Spurs core will get better.
Yes, they will.
But the Thunder core is going to get better too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shea's 27.
Yeah.
And Jalen Williams are 24 and 23. And they've got more draft picks than the Spurs do over the next couple of years. And a lot of those picks probably will convey better. So if what you just showed on the screen right now, if that's Spurs core, add De'Aaron, add Dylan. If you think that 5 years from now, they're going to be able to consistently, not just 1 year, not just a one-off, but consistently knock off the Thunder, then stay pat. Don't make the move. Yeah. But if you don't see that as a reality, if you think, dude, like Oklahoma City's better than we are right now, and they're going to be better. I say we as a Spurs fan, right? Because Spurs fans take, from a Spurs perspective, they tend to take it as a we. Yeah. If the Thunder are better than the Spurs, then 5 years from now, then we've got to do something. Mm-hmm. And that something would appear to be one of the, 20, 25 greatest players of all time who was still in his prime. Yep. Teamed up with a guy who could be top 10, top 5, maybe best ever when it's all said and done on his ascension with Dylan Harper. You would think if he's an untouchable and maybe De'Aaron Fox, because I think Castle seems to be the guy that the Bucks would say, we need one of the two of these, which the Spurs would be maybe more willing to give between the two of Harper and Castle. I could be wrong, but if that's the way it goes, then with that lineup left intact, can that team beat the Oklahoma City Thunder? And I think you have a lot of people who might say, yes, I think Giannis could be Harper and De'Aaron Fox with another first-round pick here, free agent there, along with good pieces they have now. I think that team could beat the Thunder. So it all depends on how you think the Spurs as are, will project long-term in terms of whether you make this trade or not.
All right, well, there you have it. Hector's thoughts, but let's see what y'all are talking about. And as I said, no shocker, it's about Giannis. All right, first one is from Phil Zick, 1800. He says, Spurs do not need Giannis. As the team sits, we are already a playoff team. I've heard the Bucks inquire about getting both Harper and Castle together and not separate, and Brian Wright basically said they're both untouchable. At this point, let's see how he goes. At this point, Giannis would need to go and Fox route and explicitly tell the Bucks he wants to be traded to the Spurs. And, that's a little, kind of a wrench in everything. That could change everything. If Giannis says, I want to go to San Antonio, then the Spurs got to make that happen. And if he says that, you make that happen. I'm on the camp, Hector, of I don't think you need to make the move. I think the Spurs, I just feel like you can feel that push to get them over the hump, to get to the OKC level and give them a serious threat by going maybe the Lauri Markkanen route, maybe the Trey Murphy the third route. Yeah, maybe you go that route. I don't know. Danny Ainge, he's notorious for, they call him Trader Danny for a reason. But I think you can still put a scare in the Thunder and catch up to them by doing those moves versus perhaps gutting your team draft picks, mortgaging your future for Giannis. And I get it. It's Giannis. I understand that.
Can I play a little devil's
advocate? Go ahead.
How do you get a Markkanen or a Murphy the third without giving up one of your big four?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like in other words, you would think conceivably, in order to get a guy like that, a Markkanen, a Murphy the third, a guy at that level, whether through trade or whether flat out salary, you're not going to be able to hold on to everybody, the big four you have now, right? You would think.
No, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. You have to give up something.
Because Harper and Castle, you have them on. You would almost have to make that deal like now, because or sign them. And I don't even know what I'll be honest, I don't know what either of those guys' contract situations is, but like offhand, I don't know. But like, because you got Dylan Harper on the rookie contract for 3 more years and Steph for 2 more years. After that, both those guys are going to demand max money.
Oh yeah.
So how do you get a guy like that while still not getting up Harper, Potts, Castle?
Yeah, no matter how you spin it, you're gonna have to give up. You gotta spend money to make money. That's what's gonna happen.
So if you're gonna have to part with Castle or Fox, it might as well be free honest.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many facets to this. Then there's he's in his prime, but maybe he's in the back end of his prime. Still a prime player, but then there's recent injury history. But then there's Giannis, if Hall of Fame, you mentioned it, all-time great at this point.
Right.
Has won a title. It's close. It's close. Another comment here before we put a wrap on this episode. Interesting. We, as the Spurs, never trade for an elite players like the Lakers do. They want to win now. They want to win now. We should too. So I guess that kind of echoes what you're saying there. But you're right. I didn't think about that. The Thunder angle of all this. The Thunder have all the assets and then some to make Milwaukee pull the trigger with them. And if they go that, man, not just the Spurs, if no other team makes a seismic move like that, the West is a wrap. For how long, man? For how long?
That's exactly my point. Like, if you think, like, I am in total agreement that Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle are going to be absolute studs and perennial all-stars. And if that happens, let's say Steph Castle and Dylan Harper end up being the number 2 and 4 best guards in the NBA 2 years from now. Now you've got a shot, right? And then you still have De'Aaron Fox. Now you've got a shot at knocking the Thunder off. But if they're not, how are you beating them? That they've already won a title when they were 26, 23, and 22 as their 3 best players. They're only getting better, and they have better assets than the Spurs do going forward. Again, with first round picks that project to convey better.
Yeah, and like I would tell you right now, Spurs fans, it feels like from the vibe, just the comments are leaving, they're leaning to no, you don't make the deal. But
which is the sign, honestly, Jeff, which is the sign of a good fan base when your team is doing well, right?
Yeah.
When your team is doing well, that's what you want out of your fans. You want loyalty. You want a bond. You want them to feel like, dude, Castle's my guy. I don't want Castle anywhere.
I got his jersey. Yeah.
You want them to slightly overrate Dylan Harper, like right now. Dylan Harper's going to be an absolute stud. But right now, as is, he's not like a top 10 player in the league.
No, not right now.
Your fans to think Dylan Harper's like right now one of the best players in the league. You want your fan. Wemby's the best player in the NBA right now. You want your fans thinking that. So there's nothing wrong with it. I get it, but that's why trades are hard. Is because and that's why building championship teams is hard. And more often than not, teams aren't able to do it like the Spurs were. In that you build through the draft, you grow together, and that's what makes it so magical. That's what made the run in the Big Three and Pop so magical. Was you never had to worry about. They were good enough on their own to go on a dynasty, and so we're spoiled in more ways than one. Not just the run, not just the run of excellence in the championships, but the way in which it happened. Hardly anybody, like nobody else, almost literally has that.
Let me ask you before we put a wrap on this. There's one thing that can stop the Thunder, and that is the new NBA financial world that they're in, the aprons and apron this and that. I think that will, as of right now, of the course that they're on right now, they've only lost one game this season. Everybody, that's it.
Right.
That's it. That's all they lost. Just one game
As a defending champion.
Yeah, as a defending champion. And I think ultimately, why they would push for a move is to continue their success, is to sustain it and try to work around the financial world that the NBA lives in now. We all know what happened in Boston. The owners bailed. They said, no, we can't do this anymore. It's too much, and they left. And I think that could help impact the Spurs, the financial world, because if you mentioned it right now, they're going to have to start paying people in a few years, and it's coming up quick. And this is a franchise that's a small market, and it doesn't have deep pockets.
Jeff, and I'm sorry I glossed over this. I'm sorry I glossed over this in the convo, but I wrote about this in the article. The Thunder have Shea, Holmgren, and Jalen Williams under contract till 2031.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have in other words, they have those guys set. Like it's not like they've got a decision to make on, are we going to keep Chet or Jalen? Yeah. Or we're gonna have to sacrifice somebody to re-up with Shea. All those guys, they're set long term. So that's part of why I look at the Thunder and I go, that's the ultimate reason as to why you make the Giannis trade. If you go that way.
Yeah, exactly. One other comment here is from Mick Fan 2050. No, it's going to take clearing out our future role players. Yes, you get Giannis for a few years at best, but then what after that? Yeah, I mean, Spurs fans, and we as Hector mentioned, we understand, we get it. This is your silver and black. This is the jersey you're wearing, Castle's jersey at games, or Harper's jersey, whatnot. But money has to change hands, and player assets got to match. And Milwaukee's not gonna say, okay, give us Zohan, Keldon, and a first rounder, and you got a deal. They ain't gonna do that.
Right.
They're not going to do that. So it's going to cost money. But you know what? It's a great conversation topic right now. We'll see what he does. Ultimately, there's the New York's are reportedly is the favorite destination. Then there's rumblings about the Thunder. There's rumblings about the Hawks. Houston can get in there as well. So we'll see. We'll see where Giannis ends up going. I just wonder if this is again kind of like crying wolf, because I feel like year after year lately, it's been, Giannis is leaving and he stays. Giannis is leaving and he stays.
Oh, yeah.
It just feels like it's been like that for a while now. He is Hector Ledesma with clutch points and so many other spots and outlets such as Spurs Sports Entertainment. Hector, tell us what you got cooking in your neck of the woods.
So covering the Spurs consistently for you. Thank you very much. You mentioned throughout the show for clutch points. So clutchpoints.com/Spurs. Although I linked to a lot of those stories, or basically all of them, on my social media stuff. So keeping up with the Spurs daily on that. Do some work, as you mentioned, with Spurs Sports and Entertainment, and then basically for me right now, Jeff, high school football is
really out.
I'm the play-by-play guy for the Smithson Valley football team. They're playing in the state semifinal and looking to defend their 5A Division I state championship. They got a game in Katy on Friday at 7:00 against Port Arthur. So I'll be there on Friday night and see if the Rangers can move on and go back to Jerry World for a third straight year and a chance to bring back a second straight state championship to Greater San Antonio.
Hector's a busy man. I don't know how he does it. I mean, from that work life to personal life, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a reporter, he does it all. And you want to catch up with him, go on X right now, Hector Ledesma TV. Do that ASAP. Hector, once again, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us here on Locked On Spurs. We appreciate your insight, your knowledge, what you got to say about the silver and black. And again, thank you so much. Everybody else, thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. If you're available wherever we get podcasts, you know what to do. Go subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, Kinspy Plus app, YouTube. The usual places, go subscribe. Thanks for making Locked On Sports Network Podcast Sports Network, I should say, the number one place in the nation. We appreciate that. Check out Locked On NBA. It's also on YouTube. For catching up on all things across the league, just search on YouTube Locked On NBA and you're good to go. So for Hector Ledesma, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.